Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to Healthy Waves, where we dive deep into the expert discussions on a variety of life enhancing topics. So, this is your host, Avik, and today's episode is a special uh, a discussion where we bring together some of the most inspiring experts to explore the powerful insights that can elevate your life. So, from mental health to mindfulness, we tackle it all with the experts who has been there and done that and are now sharing their journey to help you navigate yours. So, get ready to ride the waves of knowledge, growth, and transformation with us today. So, we have today Caroline Scoron. So, welcome to the show, Caroline.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. So, Caroline, like before we start our conversation, I'd quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Uh, Dear listeners, Caroline is a passionate advocate for mental health and the suicide prevention. So she is the author of book Unbreakable, where she shares her personal journey of overcoming the adversity and mental health struggles. So she's also a public speaker who connects with the kids, giving them hope that they too can face their challenges head on because they are, in her words, unbreakable. So, her own journey from silently battling depression and anxiety to discovering her uh, learning difference and turning into her strength is definitely a testament to the power of resilience and the self love. So, we are thrilled to have her here today and uh, share her wisdom and experiences with us today. So, welcome to the show again, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Lovely, lovely. So, Carolyn, like your journey has been such inspiring one. So, if you could share a bit about your early experience with the mental health struggles and how they shaped who you are today.
So I really kind of started struggling with mental health probably
Hmm.
back in third grade. I got a
Okay.
death threat in third grade, and then it completely
Hmm.
just shifted like the way that I felt about myself. And then as I got older and I got into middle school, I was badly bullied, and it just kind of like continued. And then when I was in high school, that was when my mental health got really, really bad. I was really just battling depression and anxiety. I was not doing well mentally. I really struggled in school too, and I didn't do well. But then I found out that the reason for that was because I have my learning disability, which is called nonverbal. And it's definitely a newer disability that people are finding out about, but it is something that makes me me and kind of has really contributed to who I am now. Because, you know, with nonverbal learning disability, something that you tend to do is internalize. And since I had anxiety and depression, I was internalizing it. And so it was amplified even more. So it was worse.
Hmm.
And, you know, that's kind of really how that all shaped me into, you know, now being able to, you know, speak out because, you know, I think it's very important that we talk about this because is that where you want me to go with it?
Definitely.
Yes. So yeah, I basically after high school went to college, thought college was going to be the best 4 years of my life, and it was not. I almost tried to take my life when I was a freshman in college. And then in 2020, I was in a life threatening car accident where I grabbed my seatbelt a few seconds before the crash, and it was hit and run. They never found the person, but I am so grateful to be alive, and I'm just so thankful. And you know, since I'm a Christian, I thought it was a huge God moment for me. And so I realized that it was God giving me my second chance at life, and I wasn't going to take that lightly. And I realized that I need to use my voice. And that's kind of when I started to think about wait, I've almost faced death not once, but twice, once by choice, and once just praying I'd make it out there alive. And I knew that wasn't a coincidence, there was more to it. And that's kind of how Unbreakable started.
Understood. So, okay, and you have mentioned like how difficult it was to succeed academically despite your efforts, especially when uh, dealing with the depression and the anxiety. So, How did discovering your nonverbal learning disability change the way you viewed yourself and your mental health?
I think it kind of accepted at this point. When I first found out, I really was like, I was so ashamed. I was upset. It was just like a whole thing. I ended up going to boarding school for kids with learning disabilities. But I think, with my learning disability, it's more just learning about why I do the things I do. And it's
Mhm.
learning more about, how I react to situations or internalize situations. But because I'm more mindful of it now, and because I know, like, if I'm, going down a rabbit hole in my head, I'm like, okay, we don't do that anymore. Like, acknowledging it, being self aware. And that's definitely been something that has happened with this learning disability is I've become extremely self aware. And, I know some of my struggles, and I struggle with parallel parking, and, I struggle with spatial awareness. And that's just something that I have to work extra hard on, but I know now why that's the case. So it's
Mhm.
almost more freeing to know why, because then I'm like, oh, it kind of makes sense.
Exactly, true. So, I mean, mindfulness often used as a tool to manage the mental health challenges. So, what role has mindfulness played in your own journey of overcoming the adversity and cultivating the self love?
I think that pretty much started after the car accident. I had this whole new gratitude, I had this new appreciation of life. And with that, I think the mindfulness has played a huge part.
Okay.
I realized with the car accident and with just understanding like how precious life was,
Mm.
to take a moment. And sometimes, like, I know in therapy I would learn these, I'd be so stupid, but be like, look at that extra flower, or look at that extra, thing that you see, and appreciate it for a second, because it's really all about shifting your mindset. And that's a huge thing with,
Mm.
at least me, with my nonverbal learning disability. It's like the mindset is everything. And mindfulness plays a huge part of it, because calming myself down, and just appreciating the small things. And I think gratitude really goes with it. So those two things I definitely try to practice every day.
Mm. Understood. Understood. Great. And okay. And like in your book, Unbreakable, you share your personal story of the resilience. So, what inspired you to write the book, and how has sharing your story impacted your healing process?
It really kind of started after that car accident. I just had this whole appreciation for life. I was in the back seat middle. I grabbed my seatbelt seconds before the accident. Like, it was a huge blessing to be alive. And since I have struggled pretty much my whole life with depression and anxiety, and just having this newfound appreciation for life, I was like, wait a second, I feel really good now. I want other people to feel this way too. And that's kind of how the book started, because then I started writing more and more stories, and
Mm.
it led to Unbreakable. But it really did start, with that accident, because it just shifted everything for me, and it just made me realize what's important in life, and the small things, and the things that you should appreciate. Like, all of that was something that I learned from that. And it really kind of inspired me to write my book, to add it in my book. So I would say that was definitely the huge inspiration. But the other thing too was I just didn't want kids to silently struggle anymore, since I was silently struggling for so many years. And I really wanted to see if I could make a difference, and hopefully help create a positive change.
And also with this, you speak to kids and teens about mental health and overcoming challenges. So, what the main message you try to convey to the young people who might be struggling with the same feeling of isolation and the hopelessness that you once did?
It all goes back to talking. It
Okay.
all goes back to letting it out, to talking to someone, to finding a therapist, to knowing that it's okay to get help, to know that you're not weak. It doesn't make you any less of a person to say, I need help. It makes you such a strong and brave person, because you're like, listen, I'm not doing well, and I need to do something about it so that it doesn't get worse. I think that's the thing too, is like, I should have communicated more with my family. My family's super supportive and always very loving and has been very validating since the start. My problem was never with my family, it was always at school. And I feel like those kids that feel alone and anxious and all that, it's like you have this feeling that like it's never going to get better. And I had that feeling too. But that's not how it really is. It does get better. Life will turn around. There is a certain point in everyone's life where life will pivot for you. I truly never thought I would be happy. And I'm so happy now just because of me and because of what my life is and what I'm doing and just gratefulness. And I think that if you can at least talk to a friend or maybe a parent, if, or a therapist, but I really think that it does come back to communication. It does come back to talking, because you can't just hold that stuff inside. You just can't.
Understood. Totally agree. Yeah. And I love how you talk about being unbreakable. So, uh, if you can explain like what that means to you, and uh, how can others adopt this mindset when faced with like personal adversity?
I think unbreakable to me is more just a life motto, because it's like I realize I have been through so many rough and just scary times, and I've made it out alive. I've made it to the other side. And I just realized that like no rejection from a guy, no rejection from a job, no rejection from anything is going to break me, because I am unbreakable and I deserve to know that. And that's kind of how I want other people to understand it too, is it's like you can't let life define you. You have to define life. And you can define life for yourself by really understanding yourself and learning your like who you are, learning your purpose. And it's different for everyone, but the main way to start finding your purpose is to start by trying things that make you happy. Because how I found my purpose was through writing, which I never would have thought that that would be it, considering I went to school for marketing. But that's just kind of how it happened. And that's just how I like to live it by.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, what
Yeah.
has been your go-to journey to for managing your mental health on tough days? So, if you can share.
Yes. So, I'm not going to lie, I'm human. I still have my good and my bad days just like everyone else. But now, when I have my bad days, I really reach out to my support system. I think it's really important to try to build a support system, whether it's family or friends or someone, just like at least some people that like you can talk to. Because now I'll just like call my dad and tell him what's going on, or call my mom or my sister and, just tell them I'm having a bad day and like why I am. And then when I talk it through, I feel so much better. So that's a one thing. The other thing that I do when I'm having bad days is, again, I go to writing, but something I love to do is write music. And sometimes, if I'm feeling sad or whatever, it's just like those will turn into lyrics that will turn into a song, because I feel like that's just something that I am so passionate about. And songwriting is the same thing as being on, a story. It's still a story. And I just love telling my story and telling different stories of it and versions of it. And music has always been a really big inspiration for me and has been a huge help when I'm not doing too well. You know, Also, I'm gonna say it, but everyone can believe whatever they want. But I will say, I sometimes will have to open the Bible, or I will sometimes have to just pray to God. Like there are things that I do that I'm like, I need to do this so I feel better, so that I feel like I can keep on like, going at the best version of myself. And, those are really the three main things that I would say are something that have changed my life completely.
Amazing, amazing. So, okay, and also with this, uh, you shared that a lot about your mental health journey. So, are there any particular mindfulness practices, tools, or the habits that have been essential in maintaining your well-being, and that you want to definitely share with people?
Wait, can you rephrase that? I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm just saying, like, you mentioned about mental health journey,
Mhm.
right? So your mental health journey. So what do you think? I mean, according to you, are there any particular practices for the mindfulness, or maybe the tools or the habits that were very much essential in maintaining your well-being?
Definitely. I think journaling. Sometimes will just write down how I'm feeling, and it just helps again to get it off. If I'm not calling someone, it's just another thing to cope in a positive way when I'm having a bad day. But I also will say that practicing gratitude and shifting your perspective can change everything. And sometimes I like to just take a step back and appreciate my life for what it is and what I have, and not for what I don't have, because I feel like it's so easy to get caught up into what like everyone else has. But you are lucky if you're breathing every day. You are lucky if you are healthy. And these are just some things that sometimes we take for granted that I truly am passionate about changing, because we all deserve to have positive coping, and we all deserve to have, support. It shouldn't be something where people have to figure it out on their own, and I think with like, I had to get to rock bottom before I learned the skills that changed my life forever. And that is something I don't want other people to have to go through. So I want them to learn these skills now so that they don't have to like, get to that point. And another thing they taught us too was really just it was gratitude, it was mindfulness, and it was really kind of just like perspective. It shifts everything when you think about something or someone less fortunate than you. Like I those little things can shift you out of it completely, like in a second.
Understood. Great, lovely. And is there any, I mean, one thing that you could leave our audience with today, and or maybe the one piece of advice for someone who is struggling with their mental health or self-love? So what would be?
Well, I'm not a therapist, but I will say that, I do really think by practicing some of these practices and, kind of figuring out, like for you, it might not be writing, for you, it might be something else. But what I'm saying with that is like find your passion. So find something that makes you happy and just like dive into it, whether it's art, music, sports, whatever it is, really kind of tap into that. It will shift a lot for you, and it might take some time, but it definitely does. But I really think the biggest thing, and the thing that I always 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 say, is never be afraid to reach out for help. Never be afraid to talk to someone, because people want to help you. We
Mm,
want to help you. We don't want to keep losing these kids, because it's horrible. It's every day, and no kid deserves to feel like they should not be here, so they should just be gone. No, no kid deserves that, and every kid deserves, to know that people are kind and gracious. Something I didn't really say though is like, I'm very passionate about like anti-bullying. So I think too, just trying to find your right people that'll align with your values and what you believe and do, especially in high school. I mean, that's a really, really tough time. And
mm,
I know because I was there. But I also think that, by finding your passion, it will help you so much, because it'll also give you a purpose. Because
mm.
part of my passion is the reason why I have a purpose. And it's an amazing thing to find out about yourself. But definitely don't be afraid to reach out for help. There's no shame in getting help. Getting help, it could save your life.
Mm. Exactly true. Yeah, lovely. Great, great. Thank you so much for joining us on Healthy
Yep.
Waves today. And I believe that all of you have found today's discussion as inspiring and empowering as I did. And Carolyn, your journey and the work you do to support others on their mental health path is truly, truly incredible.
Thank
And
you.
definitely, for the listeners, I'd love to mention, like, remember that your mental health and the self love are lifelong journeys, and it's okay to ask help along the way. So there is no bad feeling about it. So stay tuned for more expert discussions that will help you live your heartliest and happiest life. So until next time, stay mindful, stay healthy, and keep riding those waves of transformation. So till then, thank you so much.